ministers of the Word and Sacraments and your wives, the actuaries of the Cape Synod, Reverend Lucas Tladi, the assessor of the General Synod, Reverend Bingley, the Cape Synod CMM, under the stewardship of Brother Mtebu. I want to also acknowledge your secretary, Brother Menziwa, and Brother Nziba. I also want to pass my greetings to the ministries, special ministries present here today. I've seen CWM, Mrs. Vinley, and I've seen CYM. CYM, yes. I want to explain that I wanted to fly, but there were no flights coming this side because of the holiday. Now, I had to ask two gentlemen to keep me company because we are driving. From where we stay up to here, it's a good 14 hours drive. And they helped me, so my life is in their hands. Let me acknowledge Brother Mayahabo. He is the secretary of the CYM in the Northern Synod. And also Brother Tsiamo. He is the chairperson of CYM Northern Synod. So I'm trying to introduce them into CMM. I am known to be a man of excuses, and I'll give you one again today. Because of driving with these two young boys, they took my tablet where my course of speech was written. So this morning, when I wanted to charge, the ports were not working. But by luck, I used the power bank, but the young boys have deleted my speech. So it is only converted into English. But the original Xhosa speech is deleted, thanks to the two boys.
Good start.
I want to start and say, coming down to the Cape, I made a small research and they said to me, when you greet, you must say Molo. And Brother Griba will know, he's sitting at the back there. My son was a student at the University of Port Elizabeth. One of the days he was to write a test. He got into a taxi and the people in the taxi said to him, Molo. And he walked out because he thought, they are saying the taxi is going to the mall. And he missed the test. Now, I felt Molo is not the right way. Now I must say to you, Botani Butata. Botani Butata. Let me congratulate Brother Mtebu for the successful Congress. I know you had challenges at the beginning, but I knew God would prevail. Very successful in the sense that you were punctual, you are disciplined, and your Congress is running orderly. Brothers, I want to also confess that one of the greatest honors I ever received as the CMM president was when I was at Kailicha, and I was given this, which is Umsimele, Msimbi. Yeah, and this is the greatest honor ever. I'll tell you because when I throw it down, it becomes the snake and it liberates CMM. I will tell you because When I get to the oceans and there are problems all over, I take it and I point at the oceans and the oceans open. And that solves my problem. I will tell you again, because this to me is the cross of Christ, where all the sins are saved and forgiven. It is a sign of salvation. It repairs, therefore, broken, and it mends all the broken vessels. Hold on to your cross, your vessel will be mended. It is God who says, when I am weak, then his strength is apparent. Brothers, I have been put into this position in 2016. I am sure someone who is the actuaries of the church is checking 4 years and 2023, why not? And why still? We are planning on Congress of the General Synod CMM this year in September. That is still at a planning stage. You will know that all these years we've been calling this Congress, and at some stage COVID intervened. After COVID, we were told regions are not ready. I'm so excited today that at least I'm a witness, Cape is ready. The Congress is still to be held at Kimberley. Pororo region will be the host. You will know that GS is not a ministry of activity. It is a ministry of reports. Now, I expect that your new leadership or the outgoing leadership must compile a report of what is happening today and file it with the GS, so that we must report that Cape Synod CMM is alive. There are very important decisions which you are taking or which you are going to take. Amongst the important decisions which you should take is the challenge you experienced when you started with your Congress, the issue of credentials and quorum. Perhaps, Reverend Lucas Tladi, we must start re-looking as to, do we need a quorum to praise Jesus Christ? As the General Synod, as the Regional Synod came, there are important decisions which you must take. At Acacia, we had a challenge where the issue of being roped by a non-CMM minister was raised. You need to have a standpoint, and that standpoint must be a Christian standpoint, because we are not just men's ministry, we are a Christian men's ministry. You also need to take a decision on being roped by a female minister. What is your standpoint on that? We have them. And those are the things which you need to sit here and talk about. You need to talk about your constitutional amendments. Are you excited about the Constitution? In fact, I've noted, and with excitement, that part of the challenge which you had when you commenced with your Congress was not knowing your own Constitution. You need to talk about those. Of course, you need to affiliate. How many of your congregations have been paying the 200 Rand annual levies to the General Synod? You may find I'm here and you are not members. We need to talk about such things. Go back to your congregations and tell them, we must affiliate, and our affiliation, we want it to do retrospective effect. So it's about 7 years, 200 Rand. I'm talking in the presence of reverence. I don't want to mention how easy we spend 1,400 Rand. At our corners, we know how easily we spend it. We can't spend 1,400 for God. I want to touch this point that I always mention, that at Acacia, I was elected your president, but I always say my election was by default. It was by default because it was informed by slates. We gathered there and we counted how many people are going to vote for me, and that made me your president. No one knew me or knew me then. Now, are we really excited to be governed by slates in church? Those are some of the things you must interrogate. And I noted those slates are based on tribalism, they are based on regionalism. It's wrong. We are all Christians and we all belong to one church, which is UNSA. Those slates are based on tribalism, and yet we confess with the Belha Confession. I think tribalism is worse than racism. Perhaps, brothers, we need to start saying, how do we elect our leaders? Let us put the best man for the job. Let us ask this man, if you want us to vote for you, what do you have for CMM? What do you have in your hand? What are you going to do to CMM? Where are you taking us to? I think the days of Moses, where Moses would just go to the Israelites and say, let us go, and they follow him, those are gone. Tell us, where are you taking CMM so that we must follow you? You must not be a leader when we realize you are taking us to the left and we expected you to take us to the right. Then we start criticizing you. Then you say, no, we are dealing with you. Yes, we'll deal with you because you are taking us to the wrong direction. On top of what do you have, you must also tell us, what have you done to CMM? You can't just rope today and tomorrow become our leader. No. You see, we are in church, brothers. If you were in a political dispensation, whether it's the Democratic Alliance or the EFF or UDM or the ANC, it is easy to get a position. You just bus a bus of people who will vote for you. But at church, it doesn't work that way. We are a church of calling. And our calling must have a track race. I plan and I wish and I hope when we meet at Kimberley, these issues of power hunger and power mongers and plotting and planning should stop. We must have a congress where we must just get into a hall, sing, praise, and worship God. Because the moment we start talking about who is going to be our next leader, then God and Jesus goes out the window. We start to be divided. We must get to a congress which will amend and refine our constitution. We must get into a congress where we are going to learn the good practices from one another. What is South doing? What is Cape doing? What is Pororo doing? What is North doing? And then out of those good practices, we will have a better CMM. We must look at the Secretariat reports and see which CMM is better, and we must learn from them. How do you achieve this? Of course, some of you are in church to check how much of your money has been spent illegally. Fine. We will look into your financial report. That's what you want. But you must ask yourself, when you left home and you wanted to go to church, were you going to church in order to check the finances of the church, or were you going to praise God? Let us have our priorities streamlined. And I will mention it. I've seen the dangers of slaves. Last year in Stellenbosch, our General Synod almost collapsed because of slaves. We needed wise heads like Reverend Tladi to salvage the situation. The same applies here. We need wise heads like Brother Tladi who helped us out of the situation. We need those wise and fine brains. You can imagine if we were all wise and our aim is to collapse, what would have happened? Take your wisdom, take your fine brains, and help the church. Help the ministry. Brothers, we need to be robust with the truth. We need to rebuke some of our bad practices. We need to do a big introspection into our consciences and be honest with ourselves. Moreover, you know, a delegate is not a voting instrument. If they tell you who to vote for, it means they are taking advantage of you. It means they are saying, you can't think, we will think for you. But all said, let me just reflect a little bit on your theme and I'll sit down. Your theme says, a broken vessel in a broken world. Now, I want to take you from Genesis chapter 1. When God created heaven and earth, he was happy. He looked at all his creation and he was happy. But in chapter 6, God regretted why he created man. Just 5 chapters down the Bible, God regretted. Now, when we want to see the broken vessel, we need to start by asking those pertinent questions. Where did we go wrong? Who broke this vessel? What part of this vessel is broken? And how did he break that vessel? And where were we when we left him break that vessel? And when did he break the vessel? And finally, why did he break it? Perhaps with a very honest introspection, you will realize that perhaps some of us are the breakers of this vessel. We break the vessel and we turn around and say the vessel is broken. The boy child is looking for his father, and CMM members are here saying the vessel is broken. That boy child is broken because we have run away from him. The boy child is trying to solve the problems of life by going into drugs and alcohol. Yes, he will do it because the father figure is not there. CMM, go back and don't break the vessel. When we get at home, we abuse our wives, we abuse our children. We are so abusive. Especially, and this I will mention, especially where you have to appoint a female to a particular position. Before you sign the letter of appointment, there's something you want her to do. She must come this way first. And tomorrow then you say the world is broken. You are breaking this world. Some of us are unemployed. Yes, we are unemployed because people are corrupt and they are corrupt in our faces. The world today is a bad place, not because of the bad people, but because of the silence of the good people. Our silence is breaking the vessel. But you see, Nehemiah says, the walls of Jerusalem are broken, let me go and rebuild. And when he talks about Jerusalem, Jerusalem is the foundation of peace. The word Yeru means foundation, Salem means peace. So Jerusalem is the foundation of peace. Now, Nehemiah is looking back, he says, the foundation of peace is broken. Perhaps it is our foundation of our peace, where our peace resides, which is broken. And then that is where Jerusalem, that is where Mount Zion is, that is where God resides. Now imagine all the people laughing at the Israelites to say, where your God stays, it is broken. Look at where our God stays, it is well, it is well, it is well. Now Nehemiah had to go back and say, I am going to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem because I know my God stays there. Now when you rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, because of the broken vessel, when you rebuild this vessel, you must know you must be a creator of peace. Wherever you go, there must be peace. You must also be someone who complies with the commandments of Jesus Christ. You must love. If you have peace and you love, and incidentally, if you read all the letters of Paul, wherever he starts with grace and peace. If you have peace and love, you will not be a broken vessel, because then the cross will be in your hand, and with the cross in your hand, you will receive grace and grace and grace and grace. Thank you, CMM. Good luck.